Okay, so let me just start and just forget about TikTok and yeah, whatever. Okay, so I'll be playing the videos, then I'm going to do further explanation. So this video is one of the most popular videos that talks about the fundamentals, the principles of animation, all right? So we have about 12 principles of animation, and these principles of animation were formulated by legendary Disney animators Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. You need to know these two names as a 2D animator, okay? Not just a 2D animator, as an animator. And then the principles of animation are the fundamentals, the foundations of animation. There are people that animate, they don't really understand the principles of animation. So because of that, right, their animation is not that good, right? There are many people online here, many Nigerian animators. They animate, they feel like animation is about moving characters, but animation goes beyond just moving characters. Okay, animation goes beyond just moving characters. You need to follow the principles of animation. We have squash and stretch, follow through and overlapping action, ease in, ease out, straight ahead, and pose to pose, right? We have about 12 of them, and they were formulated by the legendary Disney animators, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson. So I'm going to play each of the video for those of you on TikTok. I'm sorry you cannot see my screen. I didn't plan to like share the screen, but like for some of you that don't know what we're doing, I'm teaching 2D animation. So we're talking about the 12 principles of animation. So I'm going to play the video and after that I would explain. Okay, so the first principle here that they mentioned is what? Squash and stretch. All right, so we use squash and stretch to show speed and volume, right? To show speed and volume. We also use squash and stretch to show how solid or how soft an object or a character is. For example, we have let's say we have a character that is very gigantic, okay, that is, let's say the character is chubby. When he's walking, right, you see how his body will be going up and down, okay, emphasizing his weight, okay, emphasizing what his weight. If you bring, let's say you have a very soft ball, and then you have like a metal ball. If you drop both of them, you notice that the ball that is soft squashes, meaning that it reduces in height and increases in what? Width. So when it squash, it does what? It stretches. Okay. So when you press something, let's say this is what's it called? Let's say this is a bottle, for example. If I press it, as it's reducing in height, it's going to do what? Increase in width. So as they are squashing it is doing what? Is stretching. So this is one thing that we apply in animation to make our animations very awesome. Let's say a character wants to turn their head from front position to like the right position. In animation, we don't just make the character to just turn like this. Okay, we do he squashes, meaning that the head bends down and then increases like that. Do you see that? Instead of the character does like humans, we turn like this. But in animation, you turn like this. Okay, or let's say a character sees something and is in shock. You notice that his head squashes and then stretches, just like what we have on screen right now. So you can use squash and stretch to exaggerate facial expressions. If a character is walking, let's say for example, a character is walking and then he sees a ghost, you notice that he will do like, do you get? Like as humans, when we see ghosts, there's how like you've never seen any ghost. Have you ever seen a ghost? Whatever. If you've seen a ghost. So let's say we see something and we want to express shock. Okay. Yes, our eyes opens up, but there's a limit to which our face can, exaggerate. But in animation, we use squash and stretch to show facial exaggeration. See the how eyes close, the hair squashes, and then it stretches. okay, then comes back to its normal form. And then one thing we must understand in animation is this, especially in the principle of squash and stretch, that when a character squashes and stretches, at the end it must come back to its original form. It must come back to what? Its original form. If not, your squash and stretch is not complete. You cannot just squash it and leave it there, right? So when you squash and stretch, it like bounces, okay? So like what they said here, you can use squash and stretch to exaggerate facial expression. Okay, you see what I was talking about? They said when you're done with your squash and stretch, make sure that the volume, the size of the object remains what's consistent at the end of the day. Okay, let's forgive YouTube for this. Okay, we see this that they are using a cube as an example. Okay, so for example, a cube is coming from up position and is going downward to hit the ground. When it hits the ground, it does what? It reduces in height and increases in what? In width. Sorry, I need to share my screen in a way that you guys can also see me as I'm explaining, especially for those of you here on Zoom. Let me just share my screen again. Okay, so that you can see me while I'm explaining. Okay, can you guys see me now? Those of you on Zoom. Okay, okay, okay. The first thing that they ask us to do is to do what? Master squash and stretch with what? With cube. Can also you can also master squash and stretch with a ball, right? A circle in the Moho animation software. Remember that Moho is the software that we're using for this animation class. Okay, so because we have limited time, I'm going to run through the entire 12 principles of animation. Then from that, I will share this particular video on the group. So I need to run through all of them, explain all of them myself instead of us just watching a video. And then I'll share this video to us in the group so that we can watch it over and over again. As the way you know your name as a 2D animator, that's how you're supposed to know the 12 principles of animation. The same way you know your name, that's how you're supposed to know the 12 principles of animation. You can't you can't say you're an animator and then you don't know the 12 principles of animation is unacceptable. Okay. So we've talked about squash and stretch. It shows flexibility and weight of objects. Example, a bouncing ball stretches when falling and squashes when it hits the ground. So when the ball is falling, it does what? It stretches, meaning it increases in height. Then when it hits the floor, it does what? It stretches, it increases in what? In width and reduces in height, then goes back to its normal position. We'll be doing this practically. This class is a practical class, but this first part, the week one, is just like theoretical, right? Where I'm talking about the principles, introduction to the software, and all of that. Then the next is what we call anticipation. The next is what? Anticipation. The purpose of anticipation is that it prepares the audience for the main action. It prepares the audience for what? The main action. Let's say a character and then I want to punch another character. When the character's hand goes back like this, that's what? Anticipation. Once the character's hand goes back, you as an audience, you already know that this character wants to punch because you are preparing them for the next action that is what? The punch. So the character's hand going back is what? An anticipation. Then we've also seen in animation where Tom and Jerry, especially when the character wants to run off the screen, he goes back like this. Have you seen that? The character's hand goes back, then the legs goes one of the leg goes forward, then he zooms off. So whenever you see a character do that, right, you already know that this character wants to run off screen, like he wants to run. Okay, that's what anticipation. Okay, that's anticipation. It's not just about these two examples. There are so many examples in anticipation. A character bends their knee before jumping up. So if you want to jump as a human being, you don't just stand and just jump, right? You don't just stand and then go up. You go down first, right? To gain momentum and then you jump, isn't it? So when a character goes down to jump up, that's what anticipation. So the effect is that it makes action look intentional and clear. Let's say a character wants to punch, you don't just punch like this. If you just punch like this, the audience don't know, they are not following through in the entire animation, in the action that is happening. You are not communicating effectively. But when the character's hand goes back and then he punches, they already know, right? It makes your action clear and intentional. So we have another one called staging. The purpose of staging is to direct the viewer's attention to the most important elements. So staging has a lot to do with your camera placement, and I'll be showing you this practically in class as we start, as we go into the animation software Moho. Example: using lighting, camera angles, or composition to highlight a character's reaction. In staging, let's say you want to show a character angry, and imagine that the camera is far away from the character's face. You will not see his facial expression, isn't it? But when the camera is close to the character's face, this is why as animators it's good for you to watch cartoons. As an animator, you must watch cartoons. It's very, very important. Like this morning, I was watching a series, a Netflix series, The Wolf King, and then it's you learn a lot about animation and how to animate while watching those videos. Okay, you draw good examples and good references from there. Helps in character design and all of that. So we've talked about staging, using lighting, camera angles, or composition to highlight a character's reaction. Effect is that it enhances storytelling clarity. Then the fourth principle is what we call straight ahead action and post to pose. Straight ahead action and post to pose. Straight ahead, drawing frame by frame for spontaneous actions, great for fast and fluid movements. So straight ahead is that, you remember, for those of us that joined in the previous class, I talked about 24 FPS, which is 24 frames per second. Okay, so let's say in a second of animation, we have 24 frames. Okay, so frame by frame or straight ahead is you animating frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4 sequentially. Okay, and this is usually done for spontaneous actions, great for fast fluid movement. Then we have pose to pose, creating key poses first, then filling in the in between frames, ideal for planned movement. Let me differentiate straight ahead and post to pose. Straight ahead, you animate frame 1, frame 2, frame 3 to the last frame, right? Sequentially. But in post to pose, you are animating the key poses. The key poses might be, you remember we have 24 frames, right? The key poses can be frame 1, frame 12, and frame 24. Frame 1, frame 12, and frame 24. Then when you are done, you now start doing the in-betweens, which can be frame 2, frame 4, frame 6, frame whatever. Do you understand? Do we understand? Are we together? All right. So we do understand, right? So the effect is that both can be combined for dynamic and controlled animation. We've talked about squash and stretch, anticipation, staging, straight ahead, action, and post to pose. Then we have follow through and overlapping action. Follow through and what? Overlapping action. There are two things there: follow through and what? Overlapping action. Follow through. Parts of the body keep moving after the main motion stops. Let's say a character is walking and he stops. Let's use a human being as a reference. You are walking, you are swinging your hands, right, and you stop. Do you know that the moment you stop is not the exact moment your hand stops? And the moment your leg stops is not the moment your hand stops. The follow through, right? Then we have overlapping action. Different body parts move at different time speeds. The movement of your torso, right, and that of your hand, they are not really at the same pace and speed. Now the movement of this, the speed of this, or the pace at which this moves and this part moves and this part moves, they're not the same. If they are the same, it's going to be robotic. If they are same, it's going to be what? Very, very robotic. So when a character's hand is swaying, you notice that this goes first, then this follows, and this follows, going back and front, right? Going back and what? And forth. Do you understand? So the example, we have example, hair and clothes continue to move after a character stops running. A character was running and it stops. The hair and the clothes will keep on what? Moving, right? As though the wind is what is like affecting it. So effects that it adds realism and fluidity. Then we have slowing and slow out. The purpose of this is that movement starts slow, speed up, and then slow down before stopping. Let me explain this to you now. Movement starts what? Slow, develops speed, and then slows down. If this is a car, no matter the acceleration, no matter how you match your throttle, right, the car will not just speed off. It's still going to start off slowly, develop speed. And the moment you match your brake, is it the moment your car stops? No. Hello? For people that know how to drive, right? Or people that have been in a car. Every one of us should have been in a car, at least. Okay, the moment you hit brake on your car is not the exact moment, it's not the exact instant that the car stops, isn't it? It takes a few seconds or milliseconds before it stops. Okay, so that's slowing and slow out. So meaning that object starts off slowly, develops speed, and then ends slowly. So if I do this, do you get? It's still starting, no matter how fast this action is, it is starting slowly, developing speed at the center, and then ending slowly. See, the speed all through is not the same. It's not a linear speed. If it's linear, it means that the beginning, center, and end, they all have the same speed, isn't it? Hello? So example, a car accelerates gradually and stops smoothly. It accelerates what? Gradually and stops what? Smoothly. Effect that it creates a natural motion. Okay? So then we have another principle called arc, which is the seventh principle here. Arc. Okay? Purpose, natural movement tends to follow curved paths, not straight lines. If you are working as a human being, the same thing applies to characters. As they are working, guess what? Your body is going up and down, up and down, up and down. When we get into the animation class, you will understand it. You see it practically. As they're moving, your body is going what? Up and down, up and that's why you see people are bouncing. When you say somebody is bouncing, his movement is actually going what? Up and down. He's not just moving at the same arc all through. No, just try it. When your legs are far apart, okay, you actually reduce in height a bit. Okay, so when you're walking, your body goes at an arc, not just the movement of your head and your entire body, but also when we are swinging our hands. Guess what? Our hands are actually moving at an arc. It's moving at an arc. Like as I'm doing my hand right now, it's going at an arc. So movement naturally, follows an arc. Example, swinging arm or head turn follows an arc. So if I'm turning my head like this as a kata, right, it's following an arc. Do you understand that? So it adds grace and realism to the animation. So we have what we call secondary actions. This is the eighth principle. The purpose of this is that it adds extra detail to support the main action. It's called what? Secondary action. It's not the main action. It's just an action that supports the main action. Example, a character walking, which is the main action, while swinging arms or whistling. So a character is walking and is whistling. The whistling that he's doing as he's whistling, that's what the secondary action. That action is only backing up the main action, which is him walking. So a character can be walking and pressing his phone, right? The phone is pressing is the secondary action. The walking, right, is what? Is the main action, which is the primary action. The essence of this that it makes scenes richer and more engaging. It makes things what? Richer and more engaging. So we also have timing. The purpose is that the numbers of frames per action controls speed and mood. The more frames you have, the slower your action. The closer frames you have, the faster your action. Let's say we want to do a walk circle and we are using 24 frames, which is 24 FPS, okay? It means that the 24, let's say we have 24 FPS, which is 24 frames per second, and then we have 12 frames, and we do walk circle that's that is exactly for 12 frames and 24. Which is going to be faster, the 12 or the 24? People on TikTok too can answer. 12 or the 24, which is going to be faster? No. Somebody said 24. You're not correct. 24 has more frames, meaning that it has more time compared to 12 frames. 12 frames is going to be faster. I'll show you this practically in case you're in doubt, right? So example, more frames lead to slower and smoother action. Fewer frames leads to faster and snappier actions. Okay, let's say I want to do my character to punch. I know I love punch. I don't like to fight, but I just like punch example, right? So let's say a character wants to punch, and then we are using 24 frames. 24 frames might be like this, slow motion, and he punches. Okay, compared to let's say 12 frames that goes, which is faster, the first or the second? The second is faster, right? The first is going slowly like this. It's going slowly, right? Then the second goes like this, which is faster. The second that is 12 frames, okay, compared to the other one. Okay, yeah. So imagine that a character wants to punch somebody, and then the impact is going to be smaller compared to when he does it fast, right? Okay. So we also have exaggeration, pushes action beyond realism for dramatic or comedic effect. Let's say you as humans, you are sad, your face can be like this, right? As you are sad. But in animation, we use exaggeration to make the character look more sad. Like the face can be like, do you understand? This is an exaggerated version compared to when the character is just sad like this. Okay, let's say character is sad and it's supposed to be like this normally. Then you put an exaggeration and it's like, do you understand? This is exaggeration, which is facial expression. It makes it more dramatic and more comedic. Are we together? An example here too can be a character's jaw drops dramatically when shocked. If you are shocked, I'm not sure there's any one of us that when we are shocked, our mouth like, "Ah." I'm not. I wonder the kind of thing that is going to shock you that your mouth will be like that. Your jaw will drop. But in animation, a character when a character is in shock, we push it. We use exaggeration to push his jaw down like this, right? That is exaggeration. That's not how a normal human being would react in that situation. Okay. So example, okay, it makes animation more lively and fun. The 11th principle, solid drawing. This ensures forms feel three-dimensional and believable. Yes, we are making 2D animations, but we are going to use solid drawings to make sure that our characters are not flat. Example, clear silhouettes, expressive faces, and distinct designs. The effect that it holds the audience attention. When your character is flat, it's not really. Sorry. Okay, it avoids flat, lifeless characters. Sorry, I spoke about the example for another. Then the last is appeal. The purpose of appeal is that every character or object should be interesting and likable, or at least engaging. Appeal. If you don't have appeal in your animation, nobody will watch it. It will be very boring. So your storyline should be appealing, your character design should be appealing, your scene should be appealing, your storytelling must be appealing. Example, okay, clear silhouette, expressive faces, and distinct designs holds the audience attention. So appeal helps to hold your audience your your audience attention. Okay, so we've talked about the 12 principles of animation. We spoke about anticipation, squash and stretch, anticipation, staging, straight ahead action and pose to pose, follow through and overlapping action, slow in and slow out, secondary action, timing, exaggeration, solid drawing, and appeal. So normally in my class, I do give assignments. All right. So the assignment is going to be that write on the 12 principles of animation and give me 10 examples for each. Write on the 12 principles of animation and give me 10 examples for each. Okay. So you write it as a document and send to me before class tomorrow. Our class tomorrow is by 10. So you are submitting it before class tomorrow. And then don't just try to use ChatGPT to just do everything and then you don't study it. Because I will still ask you, despite the fact that you are submitting it to me, I'm still going to ask you tomorrow. Like you would explain, not just you writing and giving to me. You would explain and mention some examples. Okay. So because of I know that today's class is going to be like is like 25 minutes or 30 minutes long, but because of the other schedules I have today, I just have to leave earlier. I'm going to send this to the group. So our next class is going to be introduction to the Moho interface. And for some of you that feel like you know so much about Moho already because you've tried your hands on it, just wait until tomorrow. There's something new you are going to see that you've never seen before in Moho, and just come expectant. All right. So my sincere apologies for starting a bit late today because I was waiting for some people, and then that the fact that we are ending early. We're supposed to end by 11:30 or thereabouts, but I have other engagements for today. I have to fly out now. All right. So do we have any questions regarding the 12 principles of animation or anything I've taught so far? Okay, go on. Yeah. So tomorrow is going to likely be a physical class, because we are talking about the introduction to the mobile animation software. But since some of us have already used Moho so far, I feel that should be a virtual class. So this week is just virtual. Then from next week, once we start doing in-depth things in animation, it's going to be physical class. Therefore, for people that are not also here in Port Harcourt or that cannot make it to class, I'm still going to be sharing a Zoom link. So while in class, I'm still going to create a Zoom link and still record the class so that you can always go back to it. Like this class is being recorded. I think so. This class is being recorded and then it's going to be shared at the end of the day. Yeah. Does anyone else have a question?